Many thanks for choosing us. Let's begin with the Vice President, Dr. Bawumia, who's issued an end-of-year statement patting the Akufo-Addo-led administration on the back for fulfilling over 40 campaign promises, from the establishment of the Office of Special Prosecutor to the implementation of free SHS. Dr. Bawumia says the government looks forward to an even more action-packed 2019. There is more in the following report.
In the statement, the Vice President says, as we come to the end of 2018, we have to thank God for all his mercies. We are thankful for what God has made possible for President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo and the NPP to accomplish during our first 2 years in office. In particular, we promised free senior high school to reduce the hardship on parents, and we have delivered. We promised to restore teacher training allowances to reduce the hardship on teacher trainees, and we have delivered. We promised to restore nursing training allowances to reduce the hardship on nursing trainees, and we have delivered. We promised to establish a Zongo Development Fund, and we have delivered. We promised to issue national ID cards, and we are delivering. We promised to implement a national property digital address system, and we have delivered. We promised to digitize the clearance of goods at the ports through paperless ports, and we have delivered. We promised to establish 3 development authorities: Northern Belt, Middle Belt, and Coastal Belt, and we have delivered. We promised a 1 district, 1 factory program, and we are delivering. It goes on to the 40th point, in which the Vice President says we promise to establish an Office of the Special Prosecutor on corruption, and we have delivered. And then last, on the 40 bullet achievements, according to the Vice President, he says we promised to create 6 new regions, and we have delivered. It has been 2 years of hard but fruitful work for the people of Ghana. We thank God for President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. It has been an honor for me, Dr. Bawumia, to serve as his Vice President.
Let's get onto the phone line and speak with the governance expert and former UN Senior Advisor on Governance, Professor Bawumia. Good evening to you. Many thanks for joining us.
My pleasure.
So first of all, Prof, what do you make of the 40 achievements catalogued by the Vice President?
Well, thank you again. In the first place, it's not surprising because touting achievements seems to be part of our politics. Past governments have done that, so it's not surprising that the current government is doing the same. As you know, some governments even publish books, green books and other kinds of books, to demonstrate the achievements that they've made. So it seems like this is gradually becoming, if it hasn't become already, part of our political culture. Having said, looking at the list of the Vice President, certainly, overall, one can appreciate the efforts the government has made over the past 2 years to fulfill the several promises that they made to the country. And there are some key ones that we can all admire. If you look at, say, the SHS, free SHS that they've introduced, sure, they fulfill it despite some serious challenges that we face with that. Now, just recently, the promise to create regions, which is also a promise of the main opposition party, also has been fulfilled. So that's a major achievement. So there are some very interesting achievements that they made. But I think whether it is necessary at this point to tout achievements, that's a different kind of question. In my humble view, I think several of the listed accomplishments will have been held back. Because, for instance, if you say you are delivering, and we don't know the point at which you are in terms of the process of delivering, then that creates some kind of doubt in our mind. And there are a few or a number of them that simply say that we are delivering. I guess what it means is that they've initiated the process for delivering, but you don't know yet the end point. And even for those that are fully delivered, such as the SHS, the new regions, and a few others that were listed, even then, it doesn't mean they are final. You may have completed them, delivered, but we haven't gotten finality because all of them we need continuous nourishment, continuous support and direction for them to be permanent in our society. So yes, the vice president, as we know, is a very, very boisterous leader. He is a very exciting, enthusiastic vice president, proud of the achievements, especially in the area of digitization that I believe he has led quite strongly. So I think he has every right to let us know. But as I say, even those that are so-called fully delivered will still need some time and effort to make sure they reach finality.
But Prof, more importantly, the Vice President is promising an action-packed 2019. And there are those who feel these are just expressions which will never materialize. You feel same?
Well, you see, I don't think every promise made by a political party can be fully materialized in their tenure, during their tenure. That's not possible. Even if when they are so-called materialized, as I said earlier, that achievement will still need to be continuously nourished in terms of support, consolidation, expansion, and what have you. So there's nothing like that. But I think what is interesting for me, though, is that the government seems to have made serious effort to meet most of the promises that were made in the campaign. And as you know, our politics, unfortunately, has become a competition of meeting promises. Because you know that when the previous government was in power, the NDC, the opposition was accusing it of not meeting certain promises. So it's not surprising to me that this government, knowing too well what the party did when it's in opposition, also have to come out to say, we have achieved that. That's why I began by saying that this seems to be gaining roots in our political culture. I don't know whether that's a good thing. Maybe competition brings some kind of excellence and, good products and all. So maybe that is it. But I think overall, we should not rush to meet these promises only because we are promising. Some of them need some sober reflection and retooling and re-engineering. You know that. Just as I think some people have criticized the senior high school program, the pre-high school program, that maybe if you have been delayed a year, they will have thought through carefully, certain challenges would not have come. So those are legitimate points. But you cannot accuse the government for trying to meet what it had promised. If you look at the United States, and it's a bad example, a bad comparison, I think, but nonetheless, if you look at what Trump is doing, he said, look, I promise I will build a wall. So if the Congress, you don't give me the budget for the wall, I'm going to shut down government. It sounds crazy. But unfortunately, this seems to be the politics of the era. So back home here, I think the government may have overstretched itself trying to meet all these promises that it made. But having said that, we should also appreciate the fact that certain initiatives have been good for us. Because if you look at the way they are trying to make the poor separate, cutting out all these types of intervention that breed corruption, then we are doing well on that.
But I suspect people are feeling this way because of the huge government expenditure pattern, especially next year. We know of 6 more regions that is adding on to the 10 regions. We know of the 1D, 1F government promises to go more into rates next year. We know of infrastructure development and all of this. For you, what is your expectation going into 2019?
Well, my expectation is that government will be more reflective in terms of, as you mentioned, the expenditure of government, especially if revenue is still having challenges, if you are not getting the revenue that the government needs to provide for the public want. With that in mind, and knowing too well that after next year, the following year becomes an election year, I'm sure the government will be pragmatic enough to realize that they cannot throw money at promises that would not yield immediate dividends. for the public to see that something, in fact, is changing. But I know the government is also banking on the seeming growth in the economy. Because once the economy grows, it expands, then of course, it brings more revenue to the government. So maybe they know that with the bauxite deal, with the Chinese coming on board, there's some money, the inflows to be coming. Maybe these are what they are thinking. Because certainly as politicians, I'm very much sure that they are very much aware that the public is anxious to see results, not only in terms of infrastructure, because we all know that the previous government threw a lot of money putting up infrastructure, but they didn't win them the election. Ultimately, what people will be looking at is their own individual welfare. How am I doing? Am I able to pay my school fees? Am I able to feed my family?
And especially how they're going to generate revenue to support all these promises they're making, I guess. Many thanks to you, Professor Abafo Ajimanjia, as former UN senior advisor on governance, and he's been expressing his expectations of government entering into 2019.